Hi, my name is Tamyca Brown, and I will be doing my interpersonal communication project on the art of truly listening. The art of truly listening. What is listening? Listening is an art in the fact that a person has to focus on the person who is talking and truly hear what the person is saying. Empathetic listening, according to Stewart, is when he or she is sensitive to the full range of characteristics shared by the other person. Next slide. Empathy involves sharing the feelings of another as a means of coming to an appreciation of the other. Empathetic listening is free from judgment and distraction. Empathetic to the speaker's feelings and thoughts, and suspending one's own thoughts and feelings to give attention solely to listening. Next slide. Goals I want to achieve. Listen as a level 1 listener in every conversation. I want to be able to hear clearly by laying aside judgments, biases, perceptions, and stereotypes, and lay aside any distractions that may cause me not to hear clearly. Next slide. I will plan to use focusing skills and encouraging skills. Specifically, good eye contact, posture, and responsive answers. I will use reflecting skills as well as in my conversation in order to better gain an understanding, such as paraphrasing or adding an example. Next slide. I will eliminate any internal and external distractions before I begin having a conversation with the person. And I will work towards making sure the listener gains understanding by knowing what I want to say, by securing understanding and aid retention. Next slide. My behavioral blend. My behavioral blend is the S personality, which is submissive and sensitive. The S type is still, quiet, reserved, and withdrawn. A humble spirit and a quiet demeanor. But the S personality is a very strong person, so do not count them out. Next slide. I have always been reserved and quiet. I have not been one who wants to be in front of crowds, but I would rather be sitting by myself and not be called out. As a young child, I was very, very shy. I was paralyzed by fear, which caused me to be afraid to open my mouth, to even have a simple conversation as, "Hi, how are you?" which resulted in me causing me to have a limited conversation and limited communication skills. Next slide. Due to the fact of low self-esteem and paralyzing fear, it had a negative effect on my social interaction with other people, which caused me to stay quiet and not engage in conversation. Next slide. When I look at the S personality and how it affects my communication on the positive side, even though the S personality is not a person who's loud and out there in front of the crowd, the S personality is quiet, a humble demeanor, which makes them a person who is approachable. And they know a person who is talking to an S personality knows that their business is not going to be spread out in the streets. No, it's not going to be told in the news, but it's going to be kept between that person that they're talking to, which makes the S personality approachable, a person that is available, that they can come to, and know that they can talk to that person with confidentiality. Next slide. When I'm having a conversation with the person, I want them to know that I will keep their information between us. I'm not going to share it with anybody else. And I believe this is important because they need to know that they can trust trust me and trust that I'm not going to share what they are saying, and trust that their information is confidential. It's important in having conversations. Next slide. I also believe in leadership. When you, as an S personality, when you're giving feedback to another person, it's important to have that one-on-one with that person, to have a private conversation, not a conversation in front of a whole bunch of people about what you want to share with them, because it lets them know that you have a personal concern, that you want to see them grow, and that you are personally concerned about what you are talking to them with. Next slide. Also, with the S personality, it can have a negative conversation, because the S personality, even though they're quiet and reserved, sometimes they're not quick to speak up, so their input can get lost in the crowd if they're quiet and they don't speak up and let people know what they want to say. So their input can be lost in the crowd, and and people can speak for that person. So an S personality has to watch and be careful that what they want to be said is not being turned or twisted and being said the wrong way. Next slide. The S personality can also be slow to respond. Sometimes they're not so quick to do things or move so quick, which can make other people who are go-getters and who want things done quick to think maybe the S personality doesn't care, they're not overly concerned about things. But sometimes the S personality wants to make sure they're making wise decisions, make sure they're doing things in a way that it needs to be done. So just because they don't respond right away, it doesn't mean they don't care, but it means that they want to make sure it's done right in a way that is done wisely. So this trait can be seen as positive or negative depending on the person. Next slide. Barriers to listening. Biased listening, the meaning of the word, and external distractions. Next slide. Biased listening. What I will do to overcome this barrier is that when someone is talking to me, I will strive to filter out emotionally charged words, such as "you are supposed to," "you never," or "always," according to Burley Allen, 1995. Words that could cause me to turn my listening off and not listen to truly what the person is saying. Next slide. The meaning of words. What I will do to overcome this barrier, I'll make sure that the skills I am discussing, I will check the conversation I'm having. I will make sure that I check for understanding. When I hear something that does not sound right, or to make sure I am interpreting what's saying right, I will check and ask the person the clarifying questions to make sure what I heard I interpreted the right way. That it was interpreted the right way, and I heard it the right way, so I don't misinterpret anything. Next slide. And how this will help when I clarify when I ask clarifying questions, it will help decrease any misinterpretation and any confusion in the conversation. Next slide. External distraction. Talkers not speaking loudly enough or whispering. Interruptions, phone calls, talkers talking too rapidly, faulty acoustic making it difficult to hear. Next slide. How to overcome this barrier. I will make sure I have conversations in areas free from noise and other distractions. I will silence any electronic devices. I'll make sure the person I'm talking to is not talking loudly. Make sure the person I'm talking to is talking loudly enough. If they're talking too fast, I'll ask them to slow down. And I'll remove anything that will distract me from listening from what the person is saying. So I will remove anything that will cause me to get distracted from what the person is saying. Next slide. Noise pollution. Internal noise. The noise of my own thoughts. Feelings of not feeling worthy. Feelings that I don't deserve it. What I will do is when I what I will do is I will ask myself, is this what people are saying, or is this what I'm thinking internally? I will ask myself these questions to make sure that these are not my thoughts, but is it the thoughts, or is it what people are saying, or are these internal thoughts, to make sure I'm hearing what is being said, I'm not misinterpreting what is being said, to be able to filter out the internal thoughts and to hear what the person is truly saying. Next slide. External, the people who communicating through emotional responses. When people are upset, hearing the emotions instead of hearing what they're saying. So what I will do, I will take a deep breath. I will let the person know that I hear that they're frustrated. I will ask them to tell me more. I will use the double reverse twist, change the tone of the conversation to help come up with a positive solution that will help them know that I hear them, and to help them know that we want to come up with a positive solution to their problem. And this will also help me to let my defenses down, that I may be able to see it from a different perspective. Next slide. Personal goals. As a listener, I will not interrupt the talker unless I need to clarify, bring up a point, or help the talker work through a certain problem. I will use the skills of repeating accurately. Next slide. I will also use the skill of acknowledge, in order that the person who's talking knows that I do hear their emotions, that they are sharing in the conversation. I truly am listening. I will make sure when I have a conversation, I use good eye contact, that I'm looking at them, that I'm not walking away, but I'm focused on them at that moment. Next slide. In conclusion, effective communication is an important skill to develop and to work on daily. Communication has many benefits, as stated in the Journal of Association of Communication Administration, which we all can apply to our lives. Communication enhances relationships to the self, others, and society, and is therefore central to general education. Communication education can increase upward mobility in one's career. Next slide. Communication education helps develop skills and sensitivities that shape our social and political lives. Communication education can enhance cross-cultural understanding. The benefits of communication, as we learn, goes beyond this class, but goes in every area of our lives. So let us take these skills and apply them to our lives, so we can become a better, effective communicators. Thank you. This is my interpersonal communication project, and this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.